In other news, right? We had some call outs, announcements, fight bookings, retirements, etc. Let's cover that. We'll start with the UFC announcing that Tough 33 returns next year. They're going to feature the flyweights and the welterweights. How do we feel about that? I think we all know that Tough, we feel like it's run its course, Dana White Contender Series all day, but still, it's back. We got to talk about it. We got to do our jobs. Guys, who should coach? And give me your reaction and then tell me who should coach this season, bearing in mind the schedule. We'll start with Nolan King.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly kind of forgot about it until this announcement came out. I don't know, man. It's tough, right? No pun intended. But for me, like when Chandler and McGregor did it, that was a spectacle within itself. I think that revived it. That was like the maximum that Tough can be at this point. And it also had a theme, which I love. I think that's something that I'd like to see them do more of, right? They had the vets against the newcomers sort of thing, and there was familiar faces. So and the fights were great. That season was really good as somebody that sat and actually watched every episode. For this, I don't know, like you asked me about the coaches. I mean, I'm not trying to just jack the idea that was just pitched, but something like a Leon versus Jorge Masvidal would be cool. Something where guys really have bad blood and there's some name recognition, involved as well. And I guess the other good thing that's going forward is somebody that follows the regional scene pretty closely. Welterweight, but more particularly flyweight is probably the strongest regional division right now. There is a lot of good talent that's like right there that you could say if it was any other division, you'd say, why are these guys not signed? But it's because flyweight just has a stupid amount of talent right now that they can't onboard everybody. So it has some things going for it, but I would like to see them have, if they're going to keep it around, big name coaches that are going to draw eyeballs. And then also I would have liked to see kind of more of a theme. I know last year they did international, but try to think outside the box, make it very different. I would have liked to see that more. And it doesn't seem like necessarily that's what's going on here.
And Charl Jubilee's gas station says Patty versus Moicano. Chat room, I invite you guys to give me some coaching options. That was pretty good. I got to admit, It made me think. I didn't dismiss it. I don't know if they would do it, but it did make me think a little bit. Hell, it made me think of UK versus Brazil. You might be onto something. Danny, what are your thoughts? I see you nodding in approval. You feeling the gas station guy?
Well, I'm not feeling tough. I haven't been feeling tough in a while. Not me personally. I'm just saying, I always feel tough, but bad joke. Yeah, no, like the Ultimate Fighter just doesn't do it for me anymore. I thought that McGregor could maybe revive a little bit of that since he's like the biggest star. Maybe it did for some people, as Nolan mentioned, but for me, it didn't. I saw the first, maybe second episode, and then I just kind of just waited till the season finale. So for me, to be honest, I don't really care at this point. I feel like if they want to make Tough more interesting, they gotta up the stakes, whether it's a title shot or whether it's promised a top 5 guy, or I don't know, a really fat contract, not just a very broad 6 figures, but like we don't know how many fights and how much a fighter is going to be making. I don't know. It's hard for me to get into reality TV right now. I don't know if Instagram Reels, I'm too old for TikTok, but I don't know if Instagram Reels have like ruined my brain. I just can't sit there and watch so much of it. But yeah, I mean, whoever, I guess Moicano and Patty is fine. At least make it entertaining. The only thing I will say is if you are going to make Tough and you are going to do coaches, like at least make sure that these two are going to fight at the end of the season. I can't stand, and something that was so annoying was what happened with Chandler and McGregor. Like it was such a tease. Like we have all this footage, all these jabs and all these face-offs and this for what? It literally, they did nothing. So I mean, they could maybe fight down the line, but it doesn't look promising. But yeah, at least if you're going to get two guys in there to coach, at least have them fight each other, please.
Okay. Goes, how about you, man? You heard the announcement. What was your first reaction? Roll of the eyes, fist pump. What's your deal?
I'm one of those guys I'm okay with Tough. It's not my favorite thing to watch, but I kind of enjoy it still. But it is all about the coaches. And we were a little soured the last time when we didn't get Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. That shove, that's what promoted everything. And to have zero resolution to that did kind of sour me a little bit on Tough. But what you really need are the coaches. You need names like guys like a Colby Covington, Michael Venom Page, Ian Garry, those types of fighters with those types of personalities. They're going to be the ones that make you want to tune in week after week. And I don't know, George. I don't know that Dana White Contender Series is the slam dunk that it's completely smashed. tough because honestly, hasn't that just become a fight night? Really, like it used to be like who's going to get the contract. Now it's like who's not going to get the contract. It's like 4 or 5 contracts every week. We're just watching fights at that point. So I mean, I don't know. Both of those to me kind of lost a little bit of steam, but I really do feel like it's all about the coaches. And if you're going to make us sit there and watch it, I totally agree with Danny. Like it is hard to sit there for an entire episode. So you better come. The coaches better do something silly, and the fighters have to show something. And I think Nolan's right. I think flyweight is going to be really exciting. Welterweight, I don't know.
Because you're into breaking hearts, huh? You want some of those guys on Dana White Contender Series to win, but then get the thumbs down from Caesar in the audience.
I mean, look how competitive the UFC is. Every time you bring someone in, essentially, don't you have to tell somebody to get lost? Are the guys that we're telling to get lost, are the new guys that much better? Like, it just seems like there's no, I don't know. They just give contracts for anything at this point.
Mm-hmm. In the chat, let's see here. I saw something pretty good, and I guess I just lost it. Never mind. Well, just to reiterate, it's welterweights and flyweights. So my idea of UK versus Brazil, I'm joking. Had they thought it through and did Paddy versus Moicano, I would have kind of enjoyed that, because both countries represent really, really good, and that might spice things up. And Moicano would spice things up, and so would Paddy. That's why that was not a crazy submission there with what I saw. I did see Topuria versus Makhachev. Here's why I don't like it. Both are killers. I get you. But Makhachev already hasn't fought in a while, because what this does is this shelves him to at least like International Fight Week. And Topuria, he's just getting started, guys. He only had his first title defense. He's got to give the rematch to Volk at some point. And then you got Lopez, barking as well. So he's got challengers ready for him. And like I say, with Makhachev, he's, to be fair to Sarukian, he's got a matchup waiting for him too. So that's why I wouldn't do that one. But eventually, I'd like to see that fight one day. I'm just not ready for it altogether. And then end of the road, 16 veterans on the verge of being cut, battling for redemption and a shot at reigniting their career. You mentioned Tony Ferguson, but the thing with Tony Ferguson is he really going to do 3 fights? For free, or I don't know how they're going to do that. And then at the end, what's there to reignite? I think the guy's almost like 40. So I have like tough comeback seasons in the past, but I don't know that this one flies. Guys, real quick, what were your thoughts on Buckley versus Ian Garry to headline UFC Tampa? What's the importance of this fight? Is this an eliminator in your guys' eyes? I think it was laid out earlier. Jack Della Maddalena, not ready to go just yet. Usman has lost 3 in a row, so we don't know if what he's going to do. We haven't heard anything from Edwards, so could it be that this is that pivotal of a fight, Nolan?
Yeah, it's possible. Again, it's weird. All these fights that we're talking about, I sound like a broken record, but I feel like they're kind of you win, you go into a title eliminator sort of scenario bouts, and I think this is another one, depending on how the division shakes out, depending on what happens with Bilal and Shavkat and what sort of timeline that whole thing ends up on. I think this is probably a fight to get somebody one fight away from a title fight, but I love it. I love that it's 5 rounds, very sellable. Both these guys, I'm sure we'll be going back and forth online. We'll have their verbal jabs in there. And, there was that video a couple of years, maybe a year ago or whatever, where, Ian Garry was telling Buckley, like, why would I fight you? Why would I fight backwards? So there's a little bit of history here as well. And I think it's a good one to put in front of fans. Gary's obviously a bit polarizing. Buckley, I think, they love putting him in front of crowds. His last handful have been in front of live audiences. So good fight, important fight at welterweight. Happy that it's 5 rounds. And in a good way, the UFC is going to end on a fight night. I think this is a good way to close it out the year.
You like it, Danny?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a great fight. I think it's a fight that will likely put the winner in the top 5. Right now, Garry at 7 and Buckley at 9, according to the UFC official rankings. So yeah, they're fighting for literally becoming like legitimate title contenders. So the winner here should enter the top 5 and should be considered a legitimate and close threat to the title. So I'm all for it. As Nolan mentioned, I think those are all good reasons why this fight's very exciting. And for a fight night, like a main event fight night, I think that's pretty damn solid considering some of the recent ones we've gotten.
You think the loser will also be pushed up the UFC rankings? It seems like that's a criteria over there. I'm joking, obviously. Joe, you like the matchup here? Does the winner maybe get next? 4, what will probably still be Muhammad versus Rakhmonov in 2025?
No, I was actually kind of surprised that they did the matchup. Usually you take these up and coming guys and you match them up against a veteran with a name or something like that. So for them to kind of pick each other off, I thought was very interesting. I think the fight itself is going to be really, really fun to see how it plays out. Honestly, early looking at it, I think Buckley might be Ian Garry's kryptonite, the way he fights, but I could see this being over 5 rounds, almost seeing 5 different fights if it goes 5 rounds, because they can make those adjustments. I think it's a really, really fun fight. I agree with these guys.
Guys, in other news, Germaine de Randamie announced her retirement, former champion at 145, right? And a title contender at 135. She kind of got off everybody's radar in the last few years. She became a mom, and then she did have a comeback fight and lost. But if you look at her record, she's got some skins on her wall. Just a quick reaction on her retirement. She said she wanted one more. It was supposed to be in December. She couldn't go. They said maybe January, but I guess she just wanted to leave on her terms. If you guys don't know, I think she's a police officer in Holland, so she's got something else going on in her life. But quick goes, what were your thoughts on GDR saying yes, duel?
I mean, I think it was a good career. If you look up and down her record, it's like a who's who, man. Nunes, Pacheco, Holm, Pennington, Pena. Like, she's fought pretty much everyone you can imagine, and for not even really having that many fights. So I think she should be really proud of what she accomplished, and she's one of those fighters that has something else she can do in her life, and she's been doing it for quite a long time. So props to her for what she's done.
Nolan, what are your thoughts? And Hall of Fame worthy?
Nah, I don't know about that, but I think
she did win a
good
title?
for her. She did. She had a kind of a weird career. I'm sure that I think the way that it played out, the inactivity, never having defended the title, there'll be some. I think when people talk about the history of women's MMA, she probably won't get the credit that she deserves. I think even in my brain, sometimes I kind of forget about that whole scenario where she won the title and then ended up vacating it. But good for her. Like you said, she's a police officer. I believe part of the reason for her inactivity in recent years was that she had a baby as well. So she's a mom. And she had a great career. She did a lot more than most women can accomplish in MMA. So hats off to her, and she'll forever be a UFC champ.
The two ladies that just fought for the title, she has wins over them.
Yeah.
And she beat Holly Holm, who's a former champ, and she also beat Larissa Pacheco, who's done very well over at PFL. So it's questionable. I think at some point the UFC needs to start spicing up the lady side of the Hall of Fame. Who knows if she slips in? What do you think, Danny? You agree with me or no? I think she should warrant some strong consideration.
Was that for the inaugural title? Yes, right?
Yeah, against Holly.
So maybe there's that. I mean, she made history in the first ever women's featherweight champion, and I don't know if that division will ever come back, but so there's something to that, but probably not. I do think she's a little bit underrated and forgotten by the fan base, giving her an activity. And I just always felt like she could do so much more. I don't know if you guys got that feeling, like she won the title from Holly Holm, and like she didn't want to fight Cyborg, which is the reason why the UFC ended up taking her belt. That's what happened. I always thought she had like a legit chance. Like out of all the ladies at the time, I always thought JDR was like one of the better matchups for Cyborg to kind of put her in on her heels and with the striking.
Her stance, though, to be fair, her stance was the PED allegations, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean, but then like how many fighters? I don't want to get into the whole thing, but like I'm sure, especially outside of the UFC, she probably fought somebody that at some point was on something. Maybe. I mean, odds are, yeah, especially because she's got a kickboxing background, right? So that's a wild, wild west over there. So, anyways, yeah, I just thought she could achieve so much more. I think like technical wise, she was like one of the few ladies that actually like packed like dangerous power, like one knockout punch type things. And yeah, I mean, congrats to her, former champion. I mean, it's hard to say somebody underachieved when they became UFC champion, but that's just the way I feel.
Was this under the USADA era? Do you guys remember?
She fought outside of it, I'm pretty sure. Because she fought in some like UFC 185. I'm pretty sure like USADA wasn't around by then. USADA started 2016? That was 2015.
Yeah.
But she fought for Strikeforce, talking about like the 2010s, 2011s, 2012s. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We wish her the best, obviously. And if she makes it in, great. If not, I understand as well because yeah, it was just the timing. Like I say, her owning 2 wins over the 2 ladies that just fought for the title and have been world champions, just goes to show you we're not just pulling this out of our asses either. Max Holloway wants to move to 155, guys. He made it official. Is that the right call? I think we all agree. Yeah, give me a good name, a good dance partner for him next. Nolan?
Dustin Poirier. I love that fight. I know that they went at it once before. Just seems like it makes a lot of sense with Dustin having 2 fights left in his arsenal, or his not arsenal, but two fights left in his story to 2 more chapters in his story to be written. I would love to see that one before it's all said and done. Whether it's in New Orleans, whether it's in Lafayette, whether it's in Vegas, I don't really care, but somewhere in there would be cool. I think that would be a kind of a fight that would have some purpose for both of them.
I like it. Goes.
I do care. I think it does have to happen in New Orleans. I think, and I do think that's the right call. Those two, that build up with Poirier possibly saying it's his last one and doing it at home, I think that would be an incredible storyline. I'd be so down for that.
And by the way, how many people are starting to go point to the ground now in their fights and it's spicing up endings? We might have Max Holloway and Ricardo Lamas to thank for that. So you like Poirier as well? Is it unanimous, Danny, or you got another wild card matchup?
Sorry, guys, but I don't like that idea. We saw them fight twice already, and both fights Max Holloway lost. And I don't know. I just want to see sort of a fresh matchup. I think Holloway versus Dan Hooker would be an amazing fight. Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. Like I want those type of new matchups where you're like imagining for the first time, like what could that look like? The Poirier Holloway fight, we've already seen it twice, so I'm not interested. I think there are better fights for.
Well, we've already seen the Holloway Oliveira fight too. It ended in an esophagus tear. I mean, do you want to see that again?
Oh, that's right, 145. Yeah, Charlie Olives. It feels different though. It feels like that's a different.
It's like a different
Oliveira. But no, you're right. Yeah. Good catch on that one. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's so many fights for him at 155 that are fun. I do want to see him get like a little bit of a tune-up. I'm not saying like a super easy fight, maybe somebody on the lower top 15. I don't know, like a Saint Denis. I don't know. I think with Holloway, you can build them up a little bit more.
Mark England says Max versus either Chandler or Hooker. Steve Williams in the chat says Max versus Hooker. That's not crazy. I kind of like
Hooker,
that.
I think that's an amazing fight.
Hooker's made a bounce back, and we were talking about Makhachev earlier. I wouldn't say he's cleared out the division because he still has Sarukian left, right? But he's going to be looking for names before he starts playing the I want to fight the next guy up card. Although I think it appears to be right now that his homie is Bilal Muhammad and they wouldn't fight, to be fair. But Hooker is in a nice spot where if he preserves it and gets a key win, he might get into a title shot. He's very popular. I think the UFC likes him. The fans like him. So even though he had a rough patch about 2 years ago, he's 4-0, I believe, since then. So, yeah, he has to be very careful with his matchmaking. But those are some good names there. Goes, I don't think I went to you yet, right? Did you give me the matchup yet? Oh, no, you did.
Yeah.
You liked it. Okay.
I started off. But I wanted to ask you a question. Sure. The whole pointing to the ground, where in real life do you guys feel like you carry that bravado where you can point to the ground and it's effective? I'll go first. When I walk into Chipotle or Spearmint Rhino, I think I can point to that ground and people would go, hey, that guy means business. How about you guys? Basketball court?
Right here on Spinning Back Clique. I got everybody shaking in their boots.
Spinning Back Clique? You should do that. Should be your intro every week. Just go like that. Just point down.
Point to
when you disagree with someone, just be like, yo.
So you're saying you own this territory.
Except nobody's going to know. Like if they don't watch this episode, I'm just going to be doing this. Everybody's going to be thinking, what the hell is going on?
Got new shoes or something.
Okay. Here are mine. I have a few. I'm a very talented individual. The ping pong table, I don't think too many people want some. Foosball, I annihilate people in foosball. And man, back in the day, the old John Madden, it was hard to really mix it up with me. I sent people crying home. So those would be my three. You got some, Danny, or no?
FIFA. I mean, I'm pretty damn good at that game. Yeah, very. And also me after losing all my money at the blackjack table. That's me and the and the dealer.
Lazy Bed says that's him at the dispensary when he walks in.
Oh yeah.
Texas de Brazil, I can throw down there as well.
But I feel like Lazy Bed is probably just engaging. Like the seller's probably like, you know, and then he takes the gummies, whatever the case may be, and then he's the one that ends up knocked out, and they had a, you know.
Hey, real quick, guys, because I really like it when fighters stick up for themselves. MVP versus Charl Bullet. He threw it out there. You guys like it? If not, what would you do with either guy? Danny?
I love it. I think Charl Bullet, like a lot of people are like, oh, you know, enter the rankings, contender, this and that. Bro, I just don't see the hype. I don't see the potential there for a champion. I mean, he's already at an age that, you know, I think we would know by now. But that doesn't mean he can't give us really fun fights. And I think that's kind of the category that he's in, kind of a Bobby Green type fighter. So these are the type of matchups, like MVP versus Charl Bullet. Sign me up. I think that's fun as hell. And you can put it on an opening of a pay-per-view card, and I don't think anybody will complain.
Goes, did you like it, or you got a matchup for either guy that you like better?
That's not bad. I kind of like it. I do with Charl Bullet. I feel like we shouldn't rush him. I think his progression should be not slow, but just this kind of feels like a good next step.
Nolan King, how about you? You feeling any of this?
Yeah, I like the MVP fight. Michelle Pereira, another one. I think that would be kind of nutso.
Yeah.
And Paulo Costa would be the other name that comes to mind. Just somebody that's gonna. I know eventually we got to get to the wrestlers, but let's get some bangers out of the way first. You know,
Costa for who?
For
Shara?
Charl.
Or
Yeah.
Damn, I forgot about Costa. All right.